They weren't sponsored by TGAC Advocacy. You know, they can do that if they buy it for like a
For a
whole
group?
board or whatever. Yeah, and there's tons of rules.
Is that his shop?
Man, I'm chilly. I need
I
to
think
stop
that's the
drinking
name
my
of the
tea.
building company.
Is he still alive?
Yeah. Lost my battery yesterday, so.
I don't know if that one's on. I don't even know. Joe, use this one here. I don't even know where to plug it in to use.
Over there, but use that one.
I'll plug this
Put
one.
that into there, yeah.
Go ahead, we're good to go.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. The next applicant group to appear before you, and the final one for this year, 2019, is Clara Science Charter Academy. They propose to locate in Mecklenburg County. Their proposed enrollment is as follows: 250 students in grades K through 2 in year 1, 350 students in grades K through 3 in year 2, 450 students in grades K through 4 in year 3, 550 students in grades K through 5 in year 4, 650 students in grades K through 6 in year 5, at which time they will be at capacity. The LEA has submitted an impact statement. No due diligence has been requested. This applicant group has not made any special requests. It is a repeat applicant who received a full interview last year. This applicant group has received assistance from Acadia North Star as well as Adrian Sundiata and Company. The application has been deemed complete. I received, just before lunch, copies of 2 letters from absent board members that, as of about an hour ago, had not been uploaded to Epicenter by the applicant group. So I do want to make you aware that 2 board members are absent today.
All right, we'll have the board introduce themselves. Brief introduction. Y'all, if y'all want to, y'all can just line up behind him.
Good afternoon. It's good to see y'all again. Hopefully, this is our 4th year up, and we can graduate and move on to the next level. My name is Omar Muhammad, and I'm currently the chair board of Clara Science Academy. I have been working in the nonprofit sector for over 15 years. I worked for the USDA, and I worked in the financial sector, GE Capital, and E-Trade Financial. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Attorney James Cyrus. I've been on the board for the past 4 years as well. Happy to be in front of you today. Primarily, I do criminal defense work, and I work with a lot of young people, and they're going in the wrong direction. They're going in the opposite direction from where we are today. So I feel really passionate about what we have to offer our community, and I look forward to working with you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Leroy Ray. I currently am an adjunct at Winston-Salem State and UNCC, but I will be starting a remote job with the University of Asheville starting in January. I do a lot of work with students. Also sit on executive board with the Prodigal Son Foundation in Charlotte, North Carolina. And so as I have taken on this is my first year, this will be my first year on the board, as I've taken on this challenge of trying to create an opportunity for students, I go back to my time in CMS as a school administrator, where I went to a school as a turnaround as administrator at one of the lowest performing schools, and how we made progress with that. And so I look to bring that knowledge with Clara Science Academy, STEM Academy, and that's kind of what my experience. I look forward to bringing that. Thank you.
My name is Tariq Rahim. This is my first year on the board. I am an educator out of New Jersey. I love anything to do with education and just as a teacher in the high school level, I've worked in a number of different types of high schools, alternative ed, magnet school. I've served as a vice president on a teachers union out of New Jersey. And I also have worked with the idea of STEM and community outreach in the heart of Vailsburg, which is a community, so we can recruit. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dr. Muhammad Al-Gourani. I have a PhD in school psychology from the University of Texas at Austin. That was top ranked in school psychology in the nation. I graduated back in the 2003, and then I worked as an associate professor of psychology at the UAE universities overseas, and I was a department chair of psychology department for 2 years as well. I did teach primarily to college of education students and to other majors who are planning to get a diploma in education, so become teachers in K-12 schools. My clinical practice also involved consultation, psychological assessment, and intervention for Family Development Foundation overseas at the United Arab Emirates. My K-12 experience is directly related to leadership. My master's degree had a minor of educational leadership from UT Austin as well. I founded 2 private schools, one back in the 90s in Austin, Texas, and one here in North Carolina in Charlotte. Between my master's and doctoral degree, I was a principal of a private school also in Ann Arbor, Michigan. All my education, training, and experience is related to education and specifically K-12 education. So I have good experience maneuvering and troubleshooting, trying to achieve the goals of the schools. We have a good track record for the current private school that I'm running, where we basically, in 1 year, I was able to help students who are underachieving to basically cover 2 to 3 grade levels with the remedial instructions program that I run at the private school currently. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, it's Varsity Mohammed. I am the Secretary of Clare Science Academy Board. My background include pre-K all the way up to higher education. I've actually supervised teachers in Head Start programs and trained teachers as well, work collaboration with CMS through the Head Start partnership. I've also worked with students with disadvantage and low socioeconomic backgrounds. So I'm very well rounded in terms of their K to higher ed background. And we bring into the district a STEM curriculum that we believe that will be a plus for our students and give them the push in terms of preparing them for careers and college as they move forward in their goals in their lives. So I'm hoping that you will give us a chance. This is our 4th year here, and that you will graduate us and move us up to the next level. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nasif Majid. I serve in the North Carolina House of Representatives, serving District 99. That's in Northeast Charlotte. I'm well aware of Clare Science Academy's genesis and metamorphosis, and I'm here to show my support for this outstanding education organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative.
Hi, my name's Sean McFall. I'm representing the some of the curriculum that Clare Science Academy is looking at using moving forward, and just wanted to be here and support them.
Okay, and I understand y'all have already selected a school leader, right? Okay, and who's that?
Ms. Muhammad.
That's right. Okay, I thought that's what it was, and I just wanted to make sure. So it's always good when we can talk to the proposed school leader as well. What we're going to do now is we're just going to take some time to talk about the application, and then we'll have some questions for you. So we'll start off with mission, purposes, and goals.
So this deals with enrollment, correct?
Yes.
So I'm looking at that list of our Charlotte Meck schools that we've opened in the last 4 to 5 years. And I count, I believe, a dozen on that list that had serious issues in meeting their first year enrollment projections.
Well, and
Close to a dozen.
the last two that opened this school year, one of which is a STEM school in the general area where they're talking about going, neither one of them was at 50-some%, and the other one was at 70-some% of enrollments.
So my biggest thing is, show us the beef. What do you have to say students are coming to the school? I mean, they pointed to the website to say there's up-to-date information about the numbers that have committed to the school, and I'm trying to find it. I don't see it. I want proof that they can bring students in.
Do you know how many students those schools were trying to? Yeah, I know this one's
Well, we've got-
somewhat smaller
They gave us a list, wait a minute.
because they're going for 250
Right here.
K2 year one.
Yeah.
That's 250K2. In the end, they want 650 kids.
Yeah.
And
Who was it that was there?
It's Southwest, what is it called?
Southwest Charlotte
and
and-
Steel Creek.
And
Steel Creek.
Okay, so Southwest proposed to open with 554 students, but they actually opened up with 427, which is 77%. And then Steel Creek wanted to open with 615 students, and they only opened with 373, which is 60% roughly.
They were both K6 as well.
Both K6.
Yeah, so I think we need to definitely gonna have to drill down on can you get the students in the door.
And so I know they are a repeat applicant. What has been done in the
Over
past
time.
year, to assess the need and specifically, you know, who have they targeted and what are the numbers showing?
I think with that, what have you changed in the application
Yeah,
to make it
what's-
better over the years?
What's better?
Anything else on mission purposes and goals? All right, on the education plan, I think just some clarity in how you implement a STEM curriculum.
And
That'd be good.
I like what we've done with the past two applicant groups that's come up, you know. I'm a parent, give me information, tell me what my child's gonna be doing during the day and based on your curriculum of choice.
And I don't see the STEM focus in the curriculum. They say, they say that that's their focus, but the plan doesn't really see it, doesn't show it as a focus. Shows it as part of the day, but not as a focus.
we have core knowledge again.
Yeah.
So explain that.
Okay. Anything else on education? Governance capacity?
Some clarity on the relationships. There's evidently a married couple, one of whom would be supervising the other.
Also concerned that 2 board members appear to be out-of-state residents.
Anybody else remember that fight over the years? About the out-of-state board
You
members?
can have two, can't you?
You
Yeah,
just
you can't have a majority,
Can't be a
yeah,
majority.
Right.
because
You can
I
have.
think the state board had said you couldn't have any, and then the legislature came back and said, oh, yes, you can. And then it went around, and so it was.
It's
a
not
rule.
necessary that it's best, even if you can.
Right.
And what is their local interest and involvement?
I think a lot of times people are just trying to get some kind of expertise
Mhm.
in an area, so I think that's a fair question to say, what does having a New Jersey board member bring to the
Mhm.
All right, and I guess capacity, that goes with the students as well. Talked about having a weighted lottery, but I didn't see in there what the number was gonna be for the weighted lottery. And I think we might have talked about that some, that clarification. All right, operations,
The transportation plan is vague. Can we find out information about that?
okay,
And more about the facility? Again, this is another area where zoning and so forth is quite an issue.
On our map, is this right in the location of 30 and 31? Is that what I was hearing? So the
30 and
southwest.
31 are kind of on the fringe of the general area they're talking about. They're talking about being in the 485 loop.
Okay, in the board.
Inside the 45?
Inside 45, looks like. Yeah, inside 45.
Okay.
I get specific information on the facilities and what their thoughts are.
Just because the facility seems small and the cost seems low too.
Well, the cost of
Projected.
in here too.
Projected number of students.
All right. Budget?
I mean, again, the biggest thing that jumped out
Is the facilities.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's jump into some questions then. Tell us, and you know, whoever's best to answer these questions on the board, tell us how you're going to get the students in the door.
There is already some, the website is up. We're looking at we have some monies set aside for the postcards and the publicity, but more significantly, a lot of these schools have to do outreach. Our school has already got 10 volunteers, and we are targeting the churches, the masjids in that community, and their special events, their big events, their religious holidays, the 4th of July, and all of these various events that come up. We're going to be passing out information, but also the word of mouth to the appeal of the STEM and the preparing students for success with choice. And so this is the key issue of the charter schools, and that is giving parents that option and then putting it in place. But so our recruitment strategy to meet the numbers is to continue to reach the religious leaders and the community-based organizations, similar to what I've done in New Jersey with the Heart of Vailsburg, where we did outreach for various concerns and place on the table for the parents what's in it for me, what's in it for them and their child, and we know what's at stake when we look at what are the challenges facing our children.
So in your responses, you guys referred to the website to talk about accumulated data for interest in the school.
Yes.
So on your website, you have an enrollment form and you have a survey form.
Yes.
Who's collecting that data and what are those numbers? Do you have specifics of results from those enrollment forms and survey forms?
Okay, I got to pass that on.
In terms of the survey is ongoing. The website, we have over 800 hits from the website with 271 mail-in surveys. We also have additional 300 surveys that we collected by walking and setting up at storefronts where we collect the data in terms of just asking parents if they're interested in the STEM schools and if they have children between that age group. So that's 300 surveys that have been completed. We also have, I was going to repeat what he just said, my apologies, in terms of their volunteers that's available to help us go in and recruit students as well.
So as of today, what numbers can you tell us completed this enrollment form online and how many brought you hand forms? Do you have a total?
In terms of actual completion of the application process, we don't have the actual application complete because we could not approve that until we get approval from the board.
Right.
But in terms of interest for the school, that's 271 mail-in surveys and 300, so a total of roughly 600. 300 plus 200, 200
So that's people that
571.
have filled out the survey online or
All have done it in person.
And all of these people had children in first or K-2 and
And all the way up to 6th grade, yes.
How many completed just the enrollment interest form? You have an enrollment interest form and you have a survey form.
I don't have that data with me in terms of the actual completion of the form. What I do have is each month there's the number of hits in terms of interest on the actual website who have looked at the survey is 25 for each month that we have calculated. But in terms of the actual application completed, I don't have that in front of me, sorry.
Can you tell us what you've changed in the application from last year? How have you made the application better?
Can you I'm sorry, can you please repeat your question for
Yeah,
me?
how have you made the application better?
The application is better in terms of, one, what we have done is we did a poster to reach parents where we actually send out the poster. It was not independent because it came in late. But that poster we send out in terms of another mini survey where we hand out to parents when we go to events. In terms of the actual application, we have added more different board members with more experience in terms of the education background. We added board members who has more expertise, who can actually go in and target, work with our target population, enhance our marketing skills because we know it is a tight niche area that we're going into. We've added a principal who has confirmed his commitment to working with the school. He has the expertise, he has the background. So we have done quite a bit of change to the application to make sure that we are marketable to you and present it to you that we're sure that we can be successful with this school.
Can we talk to the school leader for just a minute?
Yes,
The
sure.
proposed school leader? Yeah, I think this question would be good for him.
Yep.
So, explain how you're going to weave together core knowledge and STEM and how you prepare the teachers to do that.
Okay, basically preparing the teachers, I'm going to start with from the end. Preparing the teachers it's going to be during the teachers' work days prior to the start of the school where they are well oriented to the curriculum that we are adopting and then getting them ready exactly to the specific role they're going to have. We have identified a specific tasks for the teachers. So in addition to being a classroom teacher, we will have a graded chair. So for KG, there will be one of the teachers will be in the position of a chair for that grade level, K1 and 2. And also we're having support teachers, like there are special education teachers, there are instructional support. So we're having 6 teacher aides and 6 staff members that will be in charge of the remedial instructions, special aid teaching, and supporting basically the classroom, the homeroom teacher. Along with that line of assignments and preparation for the curriculum, they will be well ready for implementing the curriculum.
Okay, and so how does STEM and core knowledge mesh together? How do you I guess infuse STEM inside of a core knowledge curriculum?
Well, the curriculum that we have adopted, the Amplify, that is focused on literacy and science.
What was the name of it?
It is Amplify. That is basically integrating both together, and the curriculum rep can even elaborate more on that. Even the reading is also incorporating some social studies components of the Common Core. So in addition to that, the number of allocated instructional times per week, we're having about 750 minutes per week for math and science. So that's in itself is a good preparation, a good exposure to the science, to the STEM component of the curriculum. Similar amount of minutes will be directed to literacy, writing, and guided reading. This is only the instructions, and in addition to that, it comes the practical components, which basically, because the curriculum is adopting the format of it is projects, competency-based learning. In addition to that, I personally have been teaching at the college level thinking skills, which is basically problem solving, critical thinking, decision making, and creative thinking. Incorporating that within the curriculum from early on, lower grade levels, it becomes very useful for children to open the horizon for them with regard to the content knowledge of science and math. So there are a lot of hands-on projects, programs that basically supporting the actual curriculum.
Okay, anybody else got any questions they want to ask the proposed school leader about the education plan?
The
I guess
reading program is, you said your reading program is amplified, so reading / science, social study, infused, so the nonfiction is the science and social studies?
Exactly.
Are you teaching science separately as well?
Yes. I mean, on daily basis, we have about like 150 minutes of literacy, reading, and writing, and about 150 minutes for math and science, and about 50 minutes daily for other specials like PE, arts, foreign language acquisitions, stuff like that. I mean, this is not talking about the actual clubs, like whether it is after-school clubs or during the school day clubs that students, depending on their proficiency level and the different subject matters, they will be able to join those clubs.
And so what about the technology piece of STEM? Where is that included?
It is incorporated within the science component.
Can you describe how that occurs?
It's basically because it is focused on hands-on and projects components. They're gonna be using their tablets, Chromebooks, whatever the instruments will be, to basically that they're gonna be using them daily. So they are basically using the IT, the technology component, to facilitate the learning of science and math.
Is the Amplify, the literacy piece, is that all digital?
It's as far as I remember, it's not all digital. No, it's not. It's not. all
Is
digital.
this your guy for curriculum?
Yes. Yeah.
Can he speak to us?
Sure.
The CKLA program K2 is not all digital by any stretch. It is predominantly for students. It's print-based with teacher online support.
Okay.
What did you call it?
CKLA.
CKLA, it's a partnership with Core
Oh, that's
Knowledge.
Core Knowledge,
Yes,
Core
ma'am.
LA.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm usually just the sales guy, so acronyms just get stuck in my head.
Okay,
That's
so,
all we ever hear is acronyms in this building. So.
okay, so that's the core knowledge reading program.
That's correct.
Not
Yes,
the
ma'am.
science program.
No, ma'am. The science
Okay.
program is actually just called Amplify Science, and that was in partnership with the Lawrence Hall of Science out at Cal Berkeley University, or University of California, Berkeley.
And does that have a print piece or is it?
It does have a print piece. It actually can be taught completely digitally or in a blended model, which is what most places have used the program, have had success as some form of blending. But it has all the pieces in print as well as digitally. But the certain parts of the digital aspect obviously can't be replicated in print, such as simulations and things like that.
What about the numeracy piece?
I'd have to check.
Are they using Amplify for math also?
No, oh, I'm sorry. No, unfortunately Amplify does not have a math program yet, so
So I'm assuming you're talking one-to-one devices throughout the school.
Right. Tablets.
The tablets.
Is that the plan? You can confirm you'll be purchasing tablets for every student?
Yes. Yeah. I think it's mentioned in the application. Yeah.
Within the app.
Yep. Yeah.
Is it in the budget? Does the budget support that?
The budget supports it.
$75,000 the first year.
In the appendices?
75,000, how many kids? 250?
For math, by the way, the application includes that we're adopting the Eureka.
Okay. Eureka math, thank you.
Do you have a specific staff development plan to get teachers up to speed on core knowledge, language arts, and your STEM focus?
It's gonna be basically me working with the grade chair on those. In addition to grade chair, I will have in mind basically to allocate someone to be a content knowledge coordinator. So I'll have like an ELA coordinator, math coordinator, science coordinator, and this way that it will enable between or across grades levels interaction. So teachers will know exactly how the curriculum is basically intertwined between grade levels.
I assume there'll be teachers too. You can't afford that many administrators, correct?
It's not administrative.
Okay.
They're teachers. They are usually the right person to be in full control and the expert of the curriculum.
Have you used
And this
it?
is what I'm sorry for the interruption, but this is exactly what I do in the current private school.
Well, that's what I was at. Are you familiar, have you done this in another school?
Yes,
And you're
absolutely.
saying yes.
Using core knowledge and Amplify?
No, I don't use that. I use the HMH. The journeys. Sorry.
Just thought it would be helpful to point out that part of the curriculum is actually professional development through core knowledge and through the Amplify Science Group as well. So we sort of set that up. We've done that. For example, Bradford Prep is one that I literally just talked to this morning, that we've done things similar to that with CKLA, or with core knowledge, sorry.
Okay, anything else for the school leader on ed plan? All right, well then let's jump into governance. And so we have somebody from the board, a couple questions that we had on governance. One is about some of the, clarified some of the familiar relationships on the board. And then the other is, what do the out-of-state board members bring to the board? So whoever wants to answer those.
Can we take either question first?
Yeah, sure. You want to talk about New Jersey first?
So what I bring to the table is I had a sister who just moved down this area, but more significantly, the familiarity with the Amplify. I've seen it reach the students to help raise the standards, especially when we talk about the issues of it being taught with, and the language, am I using it correctly, fidelity, with fidelity. So if it's done with fidelity, then we can get the kinds of results that we want the students to achieve in all of the subjects, particularly in the reading. And the nice thing about the focus on the science and the blended option is that you're talking about science is that opportunity to bring the light in the student eyes in terms of the brilliance of science, but more importantly, how math and reading is used in the learning process as they go through the workshops and the modules. So bringing that familiarity with discussions with the team is what I, from New Jersey, bring. And I've been doing education for over 20 years in a wide capacity in terms of supervising, helping with culture and climate of the school. What you see in the application in terms of the setting expectations for staff, but then also so that the staff is on the same page with the principal to make sure that we have the kind of cultural, safe climate where learning can improve. And so I bring those ideas and those concepts along with the other educators here that are on the board.
So would your plan be mostly to do like a teleconference?
Absolutely.
Web conference.
And if I have to jump down here, I'll jump down here. I'm in the classroom, but I work with my principal, and I said, I let them know the importance of this here, of reaching this goal here, and also continuing to work where we have the lesson plans and everything in place, the sub plans for students that are not with me. So all of those things will be what we have instituted to make sure that this works.
How did you hear about this
Yeah, I
school?
was gonna say, what's your connection?
From New Jersey.
Yeah, so we have, I've known Omar and his uncle for since I was a little bitty, coming up in the same community of Newark, New Jersey, and so with that, the priority is education and making sure that we bring quality education to help our students become police officers and the like. Yeah.
This is just random, but
Yes.
is Vailsburg now is an elementary school?
Let's say it again. I'm sorry.
Vailsburg now is an elementary school?
When I said Vailsburg, that's a community organization I'm affiliated with.
Oh,
Vailsburg.
okay, I thought it was Vailsburg. I went to Vailsburg High School for 2 years.
You went to Vailsburg? That's a high school. There is a high school there. It's called now it's West Side High, and they got the Shabazz and the like. But so a lot of name changes with the charter and the public schools has been happening in Newark. Yeah.
Okay, who wants to talk about family relationships?
Family relationships. One of the things that the charter plan on doing is to bridge that gap between the parent and the school. And one way of doing that, we firmly believe, is through home visits. Home visits will be mandatory for all of our students within the first year of enrollment. The reasons for that, because we believe that in order to reach the student, the scholars, we must also reach the parent and best.
I think we mean relationships between people on the board.
Like the fact that two and
Like who's married? I think we're talking about people that were married and their spouse was going to be
answer that.
supervising them. I mean, the other
Absolutely.
answer was really good, but and I
Not
think, and
what
I've
you're
done
looking
that to you
for.
twice now. I've asked a vague question. You've answered my question, but not the question I meant to ask. But
My apologies for
no,
that.
it's not your fault. It's just bad question asking.
Family relationship. Yes, my husband and I are the brainstorm of the Clare Science Academy School. By law, I will not be working this. We're both on the board. We will not be supervising. That's why we brought in a principal. I think originally when we first started out, yes, we had, because we've put things in place, and those things have fallen apart. So, when things fall apart, you have to quickly shift around and make things work for you. So we've put myself in place where, if needed, I will go in to make sure that the school stays the way that we brainstorm it to be. So in light of that, keep in mind that the husbands and wife team everywhere. That's how businesses, that's how school starts, because family is the community. It doesn't mean that the family cannot work in the school system. We will not be supervising each other. That's why we have a great team, a board here, who will be in place to make sure that the management is in place, the principal is in place, to keep the law and make sure that we're successful with this project. But no, we will not be supervising each other in terms of going actually into the school, if that's what you're concerned with.
So you don't intend to work for the school only, like if you have to?
Only unless there is an emergency, yes.
And you would do that as a board member?
I will remove myself from a board member.
If y'all got your 501c3 status from the IRS?
Not yet, it's
Not
still
yet.
pending,
Okay.
yes.
I know those take a while. Yeah, because I would just know when you submit that in, you have to submit a conflict of interest policy that the IRS approves, and if the IRS says that it's there, then that takes care of your charter school conflict of interest policy pretty much too. So.
And there is a clause that the board has, when it comes to, thank you so much. There is actually, we do have a conflict of interest that's.
The lawyer on the board walked up with a conflict of interest policy. I like it.
Thank you. So it is in place, yes, absolutely. So we are aware of the law, and we're aware of the uneasiness of most businesses, of you as well, making that decision based off prior charters that have fallen apart because of the mismanagement of husbands and wife team. But keep in mind that lots of businesses, that's where the brainstorm have come from. It's because if there's a team in a husband and wife or in the family who have said, let's do this to give back to our communities and make sure that we're meeting the needs of our communities. I have 3 children. They've gone through the system here in CMS. They've been in CMS schools. They've been in charter schools. They've been in private schools. So we're here for our children and trying to make sure that we give back to the community what we have received as young people growing up, educated folks who have gone to school, received their master's and degrees and hopefully my PhD, and want to give back to the community to make sure that our children, our students, our scholars are getting the right academic resources.
Right, do we want to move on and talk about operations then with the, Sherry, I think you had some questions about the transportation plan?
Yes, who wants to speak to the transportation and lunch plan? So you're anticipating a fairly high EDS population.
Yes.
So I want to assume that you would provide some kind of transportation.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about your plan.
Well, since it's our 4th year, we seen that last year that the transportation plan wasn't sufficient. And so we added another bus. Claire's Foundation is going to donate $20,000 for the first 2 buses. And we are going to receive $10,000 out of the loan that we will receive from Charter School Capital. And that will give us our 3rd bus.
And purchase 3 buses?
Yes.
And you're going to use cluster stops, I assume?
That hasn't been determined because we would like to
just wait and see what your children look like.
And then once we do our analysis and the surveys of who needs to ride the bus and where they need to be dropped off at, then we will put that plan in motion.
So this $30,000, is that included in your budget?
Yes, ma'am, it is. You will see $20,000 from Claire Science Academy, and then another 10.
Okay, and what's your daily breakfast lunch plan?
Daily breakfast lunch plan. Oh, that's for lunch. Right now our child nutrition budget is roughly about $30,000, and so the nutrition plan should be. We are calculating $3.22 per child. Is that correct?
30,000 is not gonna last 2 months.
Are you looking at doing that in-house, or are you going to contract?
We are looking to do that. Yes, we are looking to do that in-house in the planning year. Once we are approved. We will apply for the USDA to provide the lunch program.
So then that segues into facility.
Yes.
Have you found a facility? Is there one that you are a specific location?
Yes.
Good afternoon, board. It's my job to present the facility. We've looked at several different facilities, and we've chosen one. We have at 4301 Shamrock Drive. Currently, it has the capability of accommodating about 500 students. So our goal for first year is 250. So it's a building we can grow with, and it's a price that we can afford, and the location is central Charlotte. So I think the location, the cost, and the size is ideal for us in the beginning stages. And we have plans 3 years from now to build.
Did you say Shamrock Road?
Shamrock Drive. Shamrock Drive.
Is that in the dark purple area?
Well,
I don't.
It's a general area.
Where is
it's East Charlotte. If you look, it's East Charlotte, and I am you know, I'm challenged with this map, but it's on Shamrock Drive and it's close to Central Avenue, and so it's within the 485 loop, but
But on the other side of the city.
on the other side of
Side
the
of the city.
Yes.
Right. Okay, so it'd be, I think, right in this area.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's in the center of the county.
Yeah, it's not in the purple area.
And
So it's definitely where all these other
It's further
charter
east
schools
than
are.
us.
Okay, so Shamrock Drive,
Community first.
you see that little, from 7 looping around to, back to 9, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, at least 7 charters right there in that
It's
little.
actually further east than most of those,
Is it?
Um,
How many miles would it be, Cheryl?
it's closer to Charlotte Choice,
All right, Charlotte Choice.
moving that way.
That's number 6, okay.
Yeah, and, who else did I, it's further east than the clump.
Not,
No, it's not
too
hardly,
far.
I mean, it's not that far further, but it's.
There's a lot of people in that clump.
As the
Yeah.
other guy said, a lot of rooftops.
Yeah.
Grove Park, that sound right? Grove Park,
Oh, well,
neighborhood there, Grove Park.
Oh, I don't know about that.
It says it's currently a health clinic.
It's not a health clinic. It's currently being used as a school.
Who's using it?
It's Dr. Muhammad's school is currently there, and that's the location they're currently.
What's the
The
name of
name of the school?
International Academy.
I'm sorry?
IntelliCore Academy. IntelliCore.
The name of the school is IntelliCore International Academy.
And you're the principal of that school?
Yes, yeah.
And this
Which is a
would,
very small school. We started with about 30 students
really small.
first year, and then we're increasing. But the vast majority of our students are recipients of the state's Opportunity Scholarship Program. That is a question mark on this whole program now, because they're reconsidering either keeping it or terminating it. So if it gets terminated, then half of my population are gone.
is this,
Hopefully, it's not gonna be terminated.
and that's gonna, you're gonna,
outside.
is this gonna convert to that?
No,
Well, what will, if you're gonna use that building for this, what's happening to IntelliCore if the program doesn't go away?
the IntelliCore will be focused on the middle school, high school.
So it will continue to stay in the building?
yes.
So you'll have K2 and then you'll have middle school, high school in the same building?
Exactly.
Oh, so then that changes
But
the
the
picture.
building is structured in a way that is basically 2 wings. So even if you look at the map of the building, it has two wings basically. 1 wing for middle school, high school, 1 wing for elementary.
And IntelliCore is a religious academy, right?
Yes, it's a private religious school.
And you will have both schools on the same campus?
Yes.
And how far up does Clara Science intend to go?
3 years.
No,
6.
to 6th grade?
But-
Are you, but you don't intend to stay at that location the whole time?
No.
Okay.
It's a nice building.
Who takes over IntelliCore International when you move to?
My current vice principal, I hired a vice principal this year, and my current vice principal will be promoted to become the principal of IntelliCore, the private school. I already hired 2 staff members this year to help with the administration, 1 vice principal and 1 secretary/admission officer.
So it looks like a pretty large building, and it's still, when you put it in, it shows up as a health clinic. So what's the history of that
Actually,
building?
there are multiple programs that are basically services to the community.
Okay.
One of them, like, it shows health clinic. It's basically 4 hours every other week, so a total of 8 hours a week, where it's basically we open the doors for free medical services to the people in the neighborhood. I would say roughly every time we open the door, twice a month, every other Saturday, it's about like 50, 60, 70 people come in to get free medical service from our volunteer physicians.
There's another private school right next door to that facility as well?
Nope.
Our Lady of the Assumption School?
Oh, this is,
That's
yeah, a
across the
different
street.
facility. Yeah,
It's on the
different
other side.
facility, yeah.
Okay.
Is the building shared with the Muslim American Society?
The Muslim American Society, they used to have a branch over there, but they're no longer there.
Okay.
I know for some reason Google Maps keep popping up the names. So in the same building, you may see MAS, you may see Muslim Education
Right.
Center, you may see IntelliCore, different entities trying to run programs. Because right now the building is huge. For the community center, we're as a community center, we're trying to provide as many services as possible, like social work, refugees help. All of those are temporary,
Looks like a nice
small
building.
scale services to the community, just to provide the help and
So
utilize
how many
the
classrooms
building.
are on the side that Clara Science will occupy?
Total, we have about 20 classes, so about 10 will be
On the Clara
identified for a
Science
Clara
side?
Science.
And do you have a certificate of occupancy for an education facility?
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I have all permits required by the state to run a private school.
Private school.
So they're almost yearly renewed. And the building actually, when it was bought from a church, the building was built to be a school. So the actual classes, it's a very good building
good
for
building.
operating schools.
It's a nice building.
You may have already said who owns the building?
Currently, who owns the building is Muslim American Society, who is a national organization, but the actual beneficiary who's running the operation is the Muslim Education Center.
So it's a two-story building. Are these classrooms on the first floor?
Both first and second. For
The-
lower
the
grades,
initial classrooms, though, would be on the first floor.
KG first and second are on the first floor. I think it's by state law that we have to keep the.
It's a huge building.
Okay, first, second on the first.
You know the square footage?
Oh. Can't remember how much.
Gotta be over
55,000. Over, a little over
It's a big
55,000.
building.
It's a nice building.
Yeah.
It's a good building.
It's huge.
Honestly speaking, up until now, I don't have to worry about the square footage because I'm a small school, so my classrooms for my students looks huge. So we basically have the leverage of having the space. So it's a huge field for our sports field, also a huge parking lot. So it is a really humongous property.
And any other questions? We're getting,
Can I just have one other question about the budget then?
Yes.
As far as the facility costs and the utilities costs, and now that we've talked about this facility, but then also you have working capital in there. Can you explain that again, exactly what the 200 and some working capital? Because you kind of touched on the 30,000 that's coming from Clara Science Foundation.
Yes.
So can you explain what that is versus the working capital?
Well, okay. We have on the facility line for the operations, we have $463,284. Out of that, $180,000 is going for the lease, and then the next year you'll see $200,000, and then the next year you'll probably see 10%, $210,000. The $265,000 is going back to pay back the loan for charter school capital. However, we have on our conference call with charter school capital, us and Acadia North Star, they did say verbally that if we need more time to pay back the loan, then they will give us more time. We just found out that it may be more a larger surplus. The representative from Amplifier, he just indicated that if we need a whole year to pay back on the curriculum, they will give us an extra year. So the working capital is there for us. And $20,000 is coming from Claire's Foundation, and out of that loan, $10,000 is going towards the buses as well.
So what is that foundation?
What is
Excuse me. The foundation, that right there will be connected to the school. Since I work in the nonprofit sector, we created the Claire's Foundation to make sure that we can raise funds for the children in the school, and to make sure that we can write grants on the side, and to make sure that we don't come in front of y'all with a financial compliance problem. To help.
So you
Raise
already have
funds.
a foundation, is it already up and going with funds in it?
Well, the donations have been submitted, and so we already have the state application has been worked on. Now we have to work on the federal.
Okay.
It's called Claire's
Yes, Claire's Foundation.
Foundation.
Yes,
As in like the school Clara?
yes, Claire. Yes,
And not Clara's.
yes,
Yeah,
Claire's.
Clara's, just like the school.
All right, any other questions? We're at the time that we should start talking about it.
I'm just not sure how we house a private and a public school in the same building. It's just a thought.
Do we have that anywhere? I don't think we do.
I think it's a large enough building where they could create a separation and separate entrances, it looks like.
Seems like
Is the plan to have separate entrances for the public school versus the private school? It's a large enough building?
Yes, it's a large enough building.
How far apart will they be, like at different ends of the wings?
Different ends of the wing. We have our realtor that came in and looked at the building and asked questions as well, back here. The specific question, one of the specific questions he asked was, can the buses come through with ease? Yes, it's that huge.
Okay.
It's that huge.
All right, thank you. We're gonna talk about the application for a little while. And, so, floor is open for any discussion or any motions.
I do like the idea that they're going to do a STEM model with a focus on some core knowledge as well, providing that will work with fidelity to a heavy ED population. I think that is a very positive piece to this application.
I think the application was better than in years past. I think having a school leader identified is helpful. I'm a little trigger shy because of just how tough it's been for some of the newer schools in Charlotte Meck to be able to reach their enrollment.
I'm concerned about the
Projections.
saturation, especially if it's not in the area that they said it was gonna, it's on the other side.
But isn't that,
It's better.
I think that's better,
Better.
is it not? It's my.
Yeah, I think it might actually be a little bit better. But I don't know Charlotte as well as some of y'all do. Sure.
The offset to that
East
is
is
that
gonna open, Movement East is gonna
East.
open in the same neighborhood,
Uh-huh.
only a couple miles from there. I
Central.
think that's I saw another application for Eastern Charlotte, but I don't know whether it went, I can't remember whether or not it went through.
Chadburn,
to Chadburn.
which one was it that we did yesterday? That would be City
City charter.
City Charter.
City charter.
Where were they gonna be in that
Where
same
would they go?
vicinity?
No, city charter,
That was.
Oh, no, that's in Greensboro.
Greensboro.
yeah,
Okay, then it
We
was
had
the other
no-
one.
We had,
no, that one was in Durham. Oak
Okay,
Grove is in
okay,
Durham. Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I don't think we've done a
We
full
haven't done it, all right.
we've got one coming up.
Tell
Telra. The one we just
Telra.
did.
just did.
That's in South Charlotte though. That's
Yeah,
South
that's-
Yeah,
Charlotte.
they're like on the Union County border.
Yeah,
Right,
that's
down
South
by Mid
Charlotte.
Hill.
So what about the ones that are delayed?
We have plenty delayed.
Nobody, just movement.
Movement's released.
So my biggest current concern has definitely been the numbers and can they meet enrollment where many others could not. The benefit they have is they've got a board now that's been together a while. They sound like they know what they're doing and they're connected to that building and that community with a lot of the families. So that softens some of my concerns with enrollment.
Given those relationships and given the facility they have, I think there might be some wiggle room and understanding should they fall a little short. To be able to make their plan, work their plan, and then the next year really meet and maybe exceed. Should that happen?
Does IntelliCore currently have elementary students, or is it currently a middle high?
No, currently it is, we're spreading very thin because, private schools were really driven by tuition. So oftentimes families interested in private schools, they will enroll all their children at once. So if I limit myself to certain grade levels, I'm gonna lose out some of the customers. So currently I have from kindergarten all the way up to high school. But the real question is for the parents, for my parents, current school parents, is the scholarship. If they lose the scholarship, I'm gonna lose them. They cannot afford to pay full tuition, even though the private school is very affordable compared to other private schools. Our tuition is like $475 a month. But if they have 2 or 3 children, 4 children, some families, it's gonna be quite hit on the budget.
If you open a K2 that's free next door, what are the chances they're gonna
High.
continue to stay in the other school?
No, I said we're gonna focus more as a private school on the middle school, high school, and then there will be a possibility for my current elementary to
apply
join
to
Claris.
the,
Yeah,
to
exactly.
the public school.
I mean, that,
So this is
I-
gonna be
I-
a feeder to the middle school.
I mean, there's
Exactly.
part of me that's this, I don't like it when we unearth things like in the application. This feels a little bit like that. I wish that we had come off the top and said like, because the reality is it has the, I don't think it exactly qualifies because it's not the same grades, but it has all the trappings of a conversion without it being explicitly named. I mean, you're the current principal of the private school in the same building that serves the same grade levels, that is now going to be a private charter school. I mean, do you see the?
I see exactly what you're talking about, but if we're saying that for private schools we're offering the grade levels that are not offered by Clara Science Academy, then I don't see any overlap.
But
I'll
when did
be
IntelliCore start?
completely focused on a Clara Science Academy, and my vice principal currently will become the principal, so it's going to be totally separate entities.
When was
I
it?
mean-
So IntelliCore's first year is this year?
No, that was like 3 years ago. This is our 4th year.
Oh, the website still says first year.
But all those kids.
But
are
as
now going to go
just to address or to add to the request or a question about sorry.
How many students are in IntelliCore?
Right now I have like about 120, but it may help answer the questions of the gentleman to the right. It's basically, I have about like 20 students in the lower grades. So all of those will become basically students of Clara Science Academy.
But the missions of those 2 schools are distinctly
Vastly
different.
That's absolutely correct. But as much as you say, I mean, the catch for IntelliCore International Academy is basically 2 components. Well-nurtured environment for children. So this is basically a good catch for a good investment for most of the parents. So that's why they pay the extra money to go to a private school. And another component is the religious component of the curriculum.
Right.
But equally important for parents are the STEM components. If they know that their children are going to be well educated in the science and math components, this is an extremely important advantage for parents. So from a very informal assessment of the needs of the parents, I see that there is a market need, and it is basically a selling point for most parents.
I just have a concern, because I see it as a feeder, I see the charter school being a feeder school for your private school.
It is a possibility. It is a possibility. Yeah.
Right.
Completely different missions, though.
Yeah, 2 totally different missions.
One's a
but-
religious school. Choose to want to do that.
And the assistant principal from the
Change
religious
direction.
school is going to become the principal of.
I'm sorry, may I? It is not a feeder. I see where you're going with it, but it's not a feeder for the private school. There's total 2 different entities. Their mission is completely different. And like the principal said earlier, it is a small school. It's not, because of the low enrollment, it doesn't look like it'll be able to sustain itself. So, so the charter school is at an advantage for, you know, to take his parents, actually. It's an advantage for us to market ourselves to his parents. So it's not a feeder for his school, but there will be a feeder for us, because if they're not able to sustain themselves in the private school, we can go in and take advantage of those students and have them apply and come to our school and sell. So the market is there at our advantage.
So this is different though.
Therein
than-
lies the problem. Like, that
This is different
is
than
the
any
problem.
other application you've put in.
Well, we found this out accidentally.
I know, this one in the.
Can I clarify?
Do the Office of Charter Schools, were you aware that, did they ask any questions about this, or questions around, is there an issue around conversion here, or?
Yeah.
No.
Can I clarify? Is it possible? If it pleases the group. Similar to,
I can give you like 30 seconds because we're really
Okay,
running
got you,
behind.
30 seconds.
We've got to have time to talk about.
okay,
applications.
so it wouldn't be a feeder school because the lottery, they have to go through a lottery, that's the law. And so they hope that they get into the school. They're going to want to get into that school, similar to Robert Treat Academy up in Jersey. And the kids were in the school, the lower grade, and they wanted to get into the actual charter school. And by luck, only if you get that lottery. And so that's the whole process. And then the other school, in my final 5 seconds, they're a separate autonomous. This one here, the Clara Science Academy, is governed by this board, whereas that organization, if I'm correct, is not at all. Yeah.
Are there any board members who overlap? No. Are there any plans for staff to overlap?
No.
Except that that's the principal
Except
is,
the
I mean,
principal.
it's kind of like if it looks like it just, part of it is not knowing this information on the front. I feel like this should have been part of the conversation right off the top. Here's the plan that we have for the building. Let's have this conversation around this relationship. I mean, you all have been at this a while. This is kind of coming. I mean, this wasn't part of the plan before, and it just kind of feels like it's hitting us a little bit blindsided. And honestly, it's a different ask. I mean, in my opinion, it's a different ask because now we're into, you know, okay, what looks, feels, and smells like a conversion. Even if, yeah, sure, it's not technically, but
it's something.
You know, if it doesn't
Yes,
pass
right, and
the
I
sniff
see where
test.
you're going, because when last year, right, we had a building. We had a building that was located on a different side of town.
Right.
And so we got the impression that that building wasn't big enough. So what we did is we searched for another building. That's how come we came upon Sugar Creek, Shamrock, the building on Shamrock. And so we looked at it from every angle, and we thought about that. We said, listen, this can't be a conversion. Your school is having problems financially, and what are you going to do to sustain this building? So that's how we approach it. What are you going to do to sustain this building? What are y'all going to do if this school closes, or once this school closes? Where are these students going to go? And so we sat down and we talked with the board. We sat down, we talked with management, and we informed them that, can we rent the space for 3 years? After 3 years, we leave and we go build the building for our own. It never came across us for a conversion. We have been in front of y'all for 4 years.
Right.
We have not disrespected anyone. We have not came in here with the untruth.
And that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying
no,
is
right, I understand what you're saying, right? It looks like it, but it's not.
Okay, so I believe
there's no
you, but
relationship with anybody in the private school except for the school leader.
Yes, that's it. That's it.
Is IntelliCore leasing that building?
Yes, they are renting as well.
When did you find this relationship? Was it after the application was submitted or before?
This was before the application was submitted, after last year application was turned down.
When did the school leader come?
So after last year application was turned down, we started looking for another building.
at what juncture did you decide that this, you know, he seems capable.
Yes.
I get it, but at what point did you say? I mean, because what I'm hearing, I just want to,
Yes.
state board members are going to go back to the minutes. What we're hearing is, I mean, she just said, like, this is a target market for us to kind of
Well, right, it's one of the
absorb,
target markets.
which
right?
is
it's one
true.
of the target
but
markets. It is because right
True,
they have a daycare.
but
They have a
I'm-
daycare. Go ahead, Alex. I apologize.
No, go ahead.
Go ahead. They have a daycare, and we are targeting all daycares in the area. We're targeting Head Start in the area.
All true. I think the challenge is when it comes at the outset of the application.
Yes.
We then now we're kind of trying to get over a different bar, which is then, okay, is this a charter school trying to rescue a private school?
Oh, no.
And-
Yeah.
I,
Go ahead.
I know what you're saying.
Yes.
I'm just saying what all of the things and all of the questions that get surfaced related
Yes.
to this, and that's the context in which I'm thinking, okay, are we in a position to go to bat for this?
Yes.
At the state board level.
With
I
with
think
the
y'all
same
are.
princi-
I think
with
y'all
the
are.
principal of this school coming
Yes.
and becoming the principal of this.
Perception is reality.
Yeah.
Plus, there's nothing in the application suggested any of this.
Yeah, I gotta rein this in, so thank you.
Yes.
So that we can discuss here and, we need a recommendation. That's why we get paid the big bucks, is to make these decisions. And by that, I mean, we get paid $0 to sit on this board, so, these are the, the decisions and sometimes the hard decisions that we have to make, so what are we thinking?
Get clarification from my own mind, the gentleman who's currently serving as the principal of the private school is going to be the principal of the charter school if hired.
Correct.
Yes.
That's what's been named.
But he will no longer be the principal of the private school.
Right.
But
He
he's,
said
that's
the
his
vice
school. The
principal
vice
would
principal
then
will become the
become
principal of the private school.
But it's his school.
And that's what I just have
I'm-
concerns about the perception.
I'm
of
not, I'm
that.
not trying to be funny, but like if I was a principal of a private school and then I became the principal of another school in the same building and my vice principal was, I'd still be the principal of the whole thing. I mean, maybe that's just me, but like just by default, it's really hard not to just be like, I'm running this building. Like I just feel like, and I get where we probably told them it'd be great if you could identify the principal, and then they said, okay, it all, I get it makes sense, but I also think, I don't know, I'm really, as much as my heart is with these guys, I see them every time I go to the RTO meetings and present, and they're there, just doggedly learning and taking everything. It also, this is challenging. Yeah.
And their persistence, I mean, they've been,
Right, but
come back.
I gotta give him credit for persistence, no doubt.
I appreciate that.
And I guess I don't have as much of a concern about the kind of self-dealing, although it's not technically self-dealing. I mean, it kind of sounds like to me that they decided, hey, let's go look at some other properties, and then they find this,
Found this one.
there's a school in there, and then they meet the principal, like, oh, he's really awesome, let's try to poach him, and then now we're like, you shouldn't have done that, I guess. I know that there could be, but with there not being any, it would be one thing if like the Clara Science Board was also the board of directors of the private school or something like that. That I would have a lot more concern. I do, Sherry gave the old saying that perception is reality, and a
I'm
lot
just
of
thinking
times
of
it
the
is.
public.
Yeah, and I think it's that is something to think about.
What's the possibility that people will perceive that Clara Science is also a religious school? Because it's in the same building.
It's possible. I feel like that's.
Especially since it's got the same principal.
I think that was, are you actually asking that, or is that rhetorical?
No, I was just saying.
Yeah, that's just a rhetorical question.
That came from perception is reality.
I guess it wasn't technically a rhetorical question, but it was a.
Just a,
But
It was,
it was, when
amusing.
she said
It was
perception is
amusing.
reality, then
That's
I
it.
thought, well, you could perceive because the other school is already there, you could perceive that this is the elementary version
Right, exactly.
of the religious school.
That, like I
Yeah.
said, the feeder pattern of the school with the same, with.
They do plan on moving, is what they said,
Yeah,
in
3
3
years.
years.
3 years.
And separating, physically separating from this building.
And there's
But
no
that's-
financial interest of any board member or the principal in the
That's iffy.
facility.
Facility.
It
Right.
belongs to somebody else.
But we heard a lot about, you know, the potential private school. You know, it just, I feel like it makes a lot more sense if you're existing charter school and then this private school is about to close down and you say, oh, you know, we want to rent your building now. It's a little bit harder when it's like from the outset. This is
So-
kind of the.
Return next year with an accelerated application as a conversion.
Yeah,
Or just as a different.
But I mean, it's not a conversion.
It's not a conversion.
I mean, that would
Yeah, but
be
then
like
next year they
me
could.
going in and saying, I'm gonna convert Raleigh Wake Christian Academy to a charter school, and they're like, who are you? You know, I mean, it's just, you know, they don't, Clara Science doesn't own the private school.
Okay, I have a question that's not rhetorical. Clara Foundation, you said something about that the paperwork stuff is still going on. Does the foundation actually have money? You said that you're giving $30,000, but does the foundation have money?
Yes. We have the $20,000. We're giving $20,000 and $10,000 is coming from the loan. But we have that.
You say you already have a loan?
Well, the loan that is coming from the charter school capital.
They don't have it yet, they're just.
We don't have it
Charter
yet,
school
but
capital has promised
Has
them.
promised that they
Promised them
would.
money,
Promise us,
but then
yes.
Should they be,
the 20,000 is in the foundation.
That's
the
foundation.
foundation,
that they already
yes.
have?
And then 10 is coming out of the loan.
Yes.
Yeah, the 20,000 is cash on hand by the foundation.
Yes.
I mean, I think what they're guilty of here, if that's the right word, is that after 4 years, they did everything that they were supposed to do to find a location that's gonna work and be creative with it. So I gotta give them credit for that.
And a headmaster. They found,
I gotta give them credit
they
for
found the
that.
site and the headmaster at the same time.
All right, we gotta move this on. I move we recommend Clara Science Academy for ready to open status.
Second.
All right. I figure we've got to take some kind of vote to see where we are, because we're just kind of going around. Any discussion or debate?
I think we've discussed it.
All right then. All in favor of the motion to move Clara Science Academy forward, raise your hand.
No. Like half full?
Raise your hand,
Got a
Sarah.
vote.
Put it up.
That's 6 in favor, all opposed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 to 4. Congratulations. Don't cheer too hard. The state board's gonna have a lot of questions.
State board
So-
does not like 6 to 4 votes, but
Thank you.
But congratulations.
good luck.
Mr. Snyder,
Who was against? Rita?
could you perhaps connect with the folks from Clara and with OCS to make sure that we have all the information we need and prepared to answer any questions?
Yes.
This is like the first time I said no. The board said no 3 other times. Right? I didn't
How do you feel now? Do we need therapy?
5-minute break.
I gotta go down the aisle. Thank you, everyone. I can't even help myself. Y'all have a blessed holiday.
After 4 years,
Y'all days, everybody.
4 years, Linda, 4 years, you gotta keep
Oh, I give credit.
Yeah, but it's not that.
It's a feeder school. That's not what it's on. I'm not doing it. It's a feeder school.
I feel like a lot came out in that.
It is a very conflicted situation. It's very
It's unusual. He's exactly right. You know, the headmaster one day moves to the other side of the building, have the headmaster. Can't do it.
Say that again.
You can't be. Oh, I'm just saying, I just struggle with the headmaster situation.
And, come on. Yeah, the state board's gonna kick this back. The board's gonna say no.
Step out real quick.
I'm not trying to be. Very good. Christian. So, it's private school.
Yeah.
Next year, we'll have two. And then the school becomes only.
Preference given to those kids to get into.
Up to their preference. They can. So yes, you have to come back. If that was to play out, so then you'd have to come back and get an amendment saying that to attend.
It's when? It's January.
Celebrated 12 days after Christmas Day. It's the traditional end of the Christmas season.
Yeah, in Germany, they celebrate that. They celebrate Christmas too, but they celebrate that, the Epiphany.
And I'm pretty sure that's where I sent it.
Right, there you go.
All right, I'll find it, Patricia.
Thank you.
Oh, shit. What's wrong?
Okay, are you an IT guy too?
Which one?
No, Apple. Did you get what happened to it? No?
It's all about projects. Immediately getting things started in a timely manner.
I will sign whatever
All
you need.
right. Do you want my, if you've got it.
Have you tried?
I have a couple of Uber
start?
receipts that I'll email you. It's great. What part of this is essential? If I'm attaching this and the hotel receipt, what do you want with this? All I need was what you did there and then the hotel receipt. And then the hotel receipt, and I'll email you Uber. That's because all they do.
This is the thing that's so crazy.
I'll email that now.
You're still looking into that?
Yes, I just talked to the gentleman about that. So we're gonna get you.
For you to be so self.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, I'm not doing anything here with it. It's full charge.
Our free intellectual
I run
capital.
a school that is more restrictive than your school as far as admissions. That's what I'm upset about.
Let's do it.
Let's go, guys. All right, here we go. Ready to hear from Uproar.
I'm Janicia Newsom, head of school and executive director.
Excuse me.
I'm Winston Earl, assistant head of school.
Courtney Highflow, curriculum specialist and testing coordinator.
I'm Joseph Gibson, director of curriculum.
Great. So you all have a presentation, so we'll get started, and then we'll have questions.
So we are here today due to our scores being low for the past 2 years. Although we met growth in ELA, our students with disabilities in 7th grade math, we still fell short for meeting growth as a school overall. Some of the things when we reflected back, realizing what did not work for us last year, to Fidelity, when we looked into our PLCs, we noticed that our PLC meetings were ineffective. We had inconsistent data analysis and usage of the data being taken. Utilization of the curriculum that was provided was not consistent throughout the school, and our onboarding process was not fully defined. We were using the Danielson framework for our observation tool, and we realized the way that we were using that tool was ineffective. So the improvements and the changes that we made for this school year, so that way we can meet our 2019-2020 academic goals, is that this year our PLC meetings and ILT meetings, we meet on a weekly basis, and it's more so focused on the data. It's focused on the data to make sure that we are having data-driven instruction. Our professional development takes place the same week we notice where we are falling short in certain areas. Also, we are doing daily observations and providing immediate feedback with our instructors. Last year, when we did observations, we were not providing feedback immediately to our instructors. Also, we are utilizing NESIS this as well for our observation tool. We are doing school-wide weekly assessments. Last year, when we did weekly assessments, we started later versus this year, we started doing weekly assessments from the beginning of the school year. Our leadership team, we utilize the data in different forms. We utilize it to assist our instructors with forming small groups, also identifying interventions for scholars who have not met mastery from their weekly assessments. We also check ourselves to ensure we're on track to help our scholars reach their end-of-year goals. The goals are based off of EVOS, projections, baseline assessments, and weekly assessments. When it comes to also our professional development, we are also looking to currently adopt the Uncommon Schools and utilize Teach Like a Champion. We've also started to incorporate some of those methods within our school for the school-wide culture. Also, we are having weekly academic and cultural goals that we focus on a weekly basis. When it comes to the daily observations, we make sure that we provide not just verbal feedback to our instructors, but we also provide written feedback as well. We also have a conversation with them, and we have them do mock teaching lessons for us, just so that way we're making sure that they're on track and they're fulfilling the standards that they were observed upon. My apology, I just started talking after I told the reason why we were here and didn't go to this slide to show the improvements that we're making to meet these goals. Other things that we are focused on this year as well is, this year we did baseline assessments, last year we did not. So we actually did baseline assessments this year so we could see where our cadet scholars started. We are doing benchmarks, which are standard based, and we are using released assessments. When it comes to our weekly assessments, we make sure we have DOK questions to include recall, skill and concept, strategic thinking, and extended thinking. Also, when it comes to the analyzation of our curriculum, we're making sure that we're checking out on a monthly basis to ensure that it's in line with the North Carolina Standard Course of Study. We're also reviewing our instructors' lesson plans and also the quizzes and assessments along with their weekly observations. When it came to, as you noticed, this year we have curriculum individuals on our leadership team. Last year we did not. This also took place based off of the performance and the dedication and the advancement of our cadet scholars. Going into the changes and the improvements that we are making this year, it also goes along with our enrollment and with the culture of the school. One thing that we noticed in comparison to last year, we were actually focusing a lot on behavior to where it was taking away instructional hours. So this year we were making sure that we were actually identifying our school culture. And how we did that was visiting other charter schools, just reaching out for support, having more professional development with our instructors, and making sure that we were not just issuing this is the plan, but also practicing it as well to make sure that we're all on the same page. One thing that we are noticing, that we are dealing with, is the perception that we are an alternative school. We are not an alternative school. So what we are doing to re-image ourselves is February 19th, we're actually doing a re-grand opening to invite the community in to see exactly who we are and what we are doing within those walls. We are also doing promotional videos so they can see our cadet scholars in action. So if you're not able to come to the re-grand opening, we still have videos where the community can see us in action. Another thing that we're doing is mandatory meetings with our parents, so that way they are able to see know what our goals are, meet with leadership so we can introduce the expectations of the school, and to ensure that not just the expectations of the cadet scholars and the parents, but also letting the parents know what our expectations are of ourselves, so that way we're all on the same page. In February, we were also applying for the IPG grant for the second cohort also.
So it's December. Do you have some interim assessments that you've been doing to show that you're on target to meet these academic goals?
Yes, so this is our current year assessment data. This is going along with that baseline data. The baseline data, these are assessments that we gave our scholars the first week of school. We also did our Q1 benchmark data. As we're looking at the Q1 benchmark data, we're also looking at our weekly assessments as well to just ensure that we are on the right track to help our scholars meet their end of year goals. When we look at the current assessment data, we're noticing with 5th grade, so with our 5th grade class, they actually took a 6th grade assessment for math. And they scored at a 38%. When they took their Q1 benchmark, they're at a 64%. Also, when it came to ELA, the baseline was 38%, and the Q1 benchmark is 88%. When we're looking at the data, we're diving into it. We're not just looking at the scores, but we're also looking at we're looking at attendance. We're also looking at suspensions as well, because we know those factors take place in regards to the assessments that we're providing our cadet scholars. But also looking into the data, we are noticing when it comes to math, especially for our 8th through 10th graders, that is a struggle. And so when it comes to that, we start having conversations about doing small groups with our cadet scholars and really identifying the areas that they're not mastering.
What did you use for your quarter one benchmark?
Our quarter one benchmark, we used the release test, the release assessment for quarter one.
The grade level release assessment?
Yes, ma'am.
What was your 20-day ADM this year?
122.
Okay, so you
What is it
you
currently?
bumped up.
No, what is it right now?
Right now, we're sitting at 93.
So
So we're talking about, and that goes back into with their enrollment. So when we start implementing the uncommon schools methods within our school, we've actually received
How much you say right now? 92?
some pushback from our parents. But one thing that we are focusing on this year, we know we have to increase our numbers. We understand, we know that. But also we know in order to increase our numbers, we have to have a solid culture in place. This year, that's what we're focusing on. We're focusing on having that culture, that solid culture, so that way, as we're moving forward, we can actually attract more numbers. Right now, because we did not have a solid culture in place, we were not able to attract those numbers. And what we were attracting, unfortunately, it was like a revolving door, because things will actually take place where unfortunately that child would no longer be able to be a student at the school. So we wanted to make sure moving forward, as parents are applying for their child to come to our school, they know what the expectations are. But at the same time, we're removing that stigma of us being an alternative school. We are a charter school. And so we believe that it's very huge for us to do the re-grand opening and the re-image of ourselves, so that way we can actually be seen for who we are.
Are you doing the military things that you had originally put in your charter?
Yeah, so we're still incorporating the military core values within the structure of our classroom, well, throughout the day. Last year we did the military uniforms. This year we actually have the polos and the khakis and the upward sweatshirts. It's more affordable for our families. Last year the uniforms were very expensive. One thing that was brought to our attention that we noticed this year when it came to the uniforms, we were not at 100%, because you have cadet scholars that are putting jackets over the uniforms. Right now, I'm actually proud to say, since we start working on it, that we're at like 97%. Our goal is to be at 100% uniform prior to Christmas break. And so that is the cadet scholars. They're not wearing anything over their polos. They're not wearing anything underneath it. They're coming in with the actual color coordinated polo for their grade level, and they're having the sweatshirt. So that's something that we're actually getting a win on. When it comes to classroom instruction, when we compare between last year and this year, we're actually having a lot more instruction taking place within the classroom. So,
What's the current enrollment now?
93.
93.
And what was it at the beginning of the year again?
Our ADM was 122.
So you've lost 30 students.
What's the breakdown in grades?
We're going to pull it up in our system.
And do you have, so I'm assuming, combination classes? And so did you add 10th grade this year?
We did. Yes.
How many teachers do you have in the high school?
For high school, we have 5.
Are you doing block or semester? I meant block or year long?
We're doing block.
What's your staffing right now?
For instructors?
Just overall. I mean, it's only
Full-time
small.
employees.
Yeah, full time.
Full-time employees, we are sitting at 19.
That's a lot.
No, that's total employees, I'm sorry. Removing full-time employees, it's 15. I was including bus drivers.
Walk me through the admin.
So admin is myself, Mr. Earl, Ms. Hackley, Mr. Gibson. They actually both take on classes as well.
And then all the others are teachers?
Yes, we have teachers, then our registrar, our front desk, our EC director, also our lunch
Your
lady.
EC director also a teacher?
No,
How many EC students do you have? A lot?
15.
15%?
Is she a full-time staff member, your EC director?
Is she a full-time staff member? Yes, she is.
But doesn't teach, that's.
Well, I mean, she doesn't have a class, like she helps, she pushes with the.
Okay,
Is
she
the
does, she
EC?
does support the
Yes.
EC.
Well, yes.
Is she the EC teacher?
Director, EC
Is
director.
there an EC teacher?
No,
So she's actually doing the actual servicing of the students.
yes.
So she's
She's
really
She's
the
both.
EC teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's doing both.
Okay. How what do you know what your monthly payroll is?
Yes,
How much is it a month?
28,000. Well, that's per pay period,
Twice a month.
yes.
Are you how are you doing financially? With 93 student, I mean, you got funded on 122?
Yes, we just recently got funded. Yes, we did. What we did, we went back to the drawing board because we knew that try to plan appropriately of losing students, losing cadet scholars, but it's just readjusting our budget. So what we had projected initially for our meals, we actually cut that down because we noticed comparing of how many meals are being eaten, how many meals was being wasted, we were actually able to cut that down significantly. Also, when we noticed our numbers, I mean, we did make some cutbacks when it came to our staff as well. And we also looked into other areas within our budget to see where we can make modifications so we can make it to the end of the year.
What full-time staff members have been laid off? Teachers or what positions have been laid off since the beginning of the year?
Yes, we had some, that were instructors that were laid off. So
One, two.
we had, we laid off 4.
Did
So
you
we
meet
had s-
growth the year before last? Sorry.
I'm sorry. Can you-
2 years. And
They only had 2 years of data. They did improve the negative growth index by 7 points. How many of these students that were students last year? What's your retention of the students from 1 year?
The students that we brought back from last year, I will have to say it was around the 70% mark, and then the rest was new students.
Only
I
7?
can't really, I'm gonna be honest, I
7?
can't really give, no, 70%. I can't
70,
really
okay.
give you a concrete
Oh, I was
number.
gonna say, good
No,
Lord.
no, ma'am.
So roughly 70 of the 90 you have are return students, correct? About
Yes.
70?
Yes.
Because I mean, I understand your goals, but I'm looking at the GLP for last year, and it was 8%, and I hope, oh my gosh, I pray that you bring it up to 54. But that is a huge leap.
It is a huge leap. We have a lot of work to do. We do. And I will say we are dedicated to doing that work. I mean, with the growth, when our scores came out, because when we noticed our scores, we were actually at a state testing training, and my expression, it was not a very good one. But also looking at how we grew our kids, I know last year we did not meet growth in any area. 2017, 2018, we did not meet growth in any area. Last year, we met growth in ELA and also our students with disabilities. 7th grade met growth in math. So we know we have a whole lot more to do, so that way we can meet growth. Actually, our goal is to exceed growth across the school. Everything that we're doing now, I mean, just reviewing back what took place last year and tackling things now. What I mean by now, in the beginning of the school year versus waiting. It's making sure that we're not doing the same thing 2 years in a row. If it didn't work, it doesn't make sense.
Right,
So we made a lot of.
So with that being said, I'm pretty sure after your year 1, we had you guys come in. You and your, wasn't there another one of you girls?
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me, ladies. And we gave you this talk, like, get your act together kind of thing. And then the proficiency actually went down. So, I mean, you had that year last year to make these big improvements, but it didn't, nothing worked.
Well, the proficiency did go down.
But you did meet growth in a few areas.
We did, and that didn't take place year one, but that's not something that we're just sitting here and saying, okay, we met growth with our students with disabilities and we met growth in ELA. We know we have a whole lot more work to do. We want to meet growth across the boards. We want to make sure that we have our students college and career ready. We understand the work that has to go in behind this, not just for our cadet scholars, but also for our instructors as well. I mean, this year we actually took away sports because we want to focus more on the culture of the school and also the academics. So our focus is different. It's totally different than what it was the previous years.
When's the school up for renewal?
Right now, we're currently in year 3. So in about 2 years.
Start the process next year?
Yeah, they'll start the RTO in the fall of next year.
So we won't vote for another until 2021.
2022.
So we'll probably vote in 2021 for a renewal for 2022. So we're looking at 2 years. I mean, I'm not gonna sugarcoat anything. This is really, really bad. I mean, we're talking about 8% grade level proficiency. You're 51% behind the county. You of your subgroups, of your economically disadvantaged, it's less than 5. Students with disability, less than 5. Your black subgroup is 38% behind the district. Hispanic 42% behind the district. I mean, still a substantial negative growth index. A little bit better than it was last year, but your enrollment's down 8 more students than it was last year. I'm just I don't know what to.
All the trend lines.
None of the trend lines. I mean, except for the growth index being a little bit better. With declining enrollment, starts making you think there's going to end up being financial trouble. When you've got this, academic issues that are going on. I just don't know what we do.
Could I ask about the suspensions again? I'm seeing that we're 1,230 is the number of suspensions on the report card, state report card versus the state average of 133.
You said 4,000?
1,000.
I feel like if you're
230. So it seems to me there's a high rate of suspensions, behavior problems.
There is. This year, we're utilizing more interventions prior to getting to the suspensions. We're utilizing the suspension as our last resort. I mean, we have the lunch detention, the after-school detention. We're doing Saturday school, and things like that. It's some of the behaviors, unfortunate, is leading to suspensions. But that goes back to the perception of who we are. I'm not saying like we're doing everything to try not to have to suspend our cadet scholars because we want them in school. I mean, we also reiterate that to our parents, that it's very important that they're here in school. And that's one of our other goals for this year as well, is have more parental involvement from our parents, and also providing them with more resources of what can be done at home while we're also doing things at school.
I can definitely share that these folks came to our low performing day at Healthy Start, and then Ms. Newsom scheduled another visit. They came back, and I offered to have my AP go down there, so he went down there and spent a day and just observed and gave some feedback, and super receptive. They're super receptive to feedback and open, trying to see some. Where else have you visited? Have you visited anywhere else, or?
This year, no.
Okay.
Not this year.
Sugar Creek's right down the road. Literally, right? Isn't it? Like, I think the, I think they're trying. I also think, based on certainly some of the conversations we've had with them, when you're trying to do that culture reset, there are going to be some, if you're trying to say, okay, we're not an alternative school, then there's this element of, do I continue to house students who are showing extreme behaviors, or do I suspend them and say, no, this is a line that we're not going to cross? Because you start saying, we'll accept that and we'll house them, then you are essentially becoming an alternative school. So I think that's kind of what she's, or I can imagine that's kind of part of what you're articulating.
That's what we're facing right now. A lot of times, once we issue the consequence, we do have parents that's upset, and either they pull them, or we get, not so nice words said to us. But at the end of the day, we're having that set culture, and we know if we was to bend it for one, we have to bend it for all, and we're right back at square one. And we don't want to be back at square one.
That's really difficult to do, and I wouldn't be surprised if they stay the course with it, that they're going to continue to have some attrition, which then raises other questions. And
what was the reaction when you pulled athletics from your students and your parents?
Honestly, the students were more receptive to it than our parents. With the students, we had a conversation with them. We told them we're not taking it away to its entirety. It's just this year we want to focus on helping you develop as a scholar. So when you do become a scholar athlete, you already have the grades, you already have the study skills in place, and we won't have to suspend kids off teams because they don't have the grades. But also it provides an opportunity for our athletic director to actually build a solid program versus us having 10 sports. Let's focus on 2 sports that the cadet scholars are interested in, and let's make sure that those are, our scholars, they want to go to college. We have a lot that want to go to college, offer scholarships and things like that. So let's make sure that we actually have a solid program in place and not just say, oh, we're a charter school that offer 10 sports. No, we're a charter school that do have sports, but we just have these 2 sports that we're focusing on. But at the same time, when the scholars are participating, they actually have the grades. This year, we wanted to focus on more of our cadet scholars staying after school for tutoring and for clubs. And so now they're staying after school for things that pertains to academics and not to sports. So when it came to parental involvement, last year we had more parental involvement when it came to sports. This year we don't have sports, so we're telling our parents, look, the majority of the parental involvement came from our sporting events. Let's have majority of our parental involvement come from parent-teacher conferences, where we're having our science fair, where we're having our parent meetings. Because, it takes a village. We have to work together as a team. And that's one thing that we're reiterating to our parents. So we know when we come back for Christmas, we're going to have to get our cadet scholars ready to learn because we had a 2-week break. So we're holding a parent meeting next week to let our parents know what the cultural reset will look like when we come back from Christmas. These are our goals. These are what we're doing to help us achieve these goals. Over Christmas break, we ask that you do, everybody will have a plan of what to do over Christmas break. So that way when we come back, we can go right back into learning. So it's been a learning experience for us all. Not just the leadership and the instructors, but also the cadet scholars and our parents. And we're willing to put in that work. So.
It was not required, but you don't have any of your board members here. Do your board members know the urgency of this?
Yes, ma'am. They do. When we have our board meetings, we actually talk about data at every board meeting as well. So we present to them where we are academically. Also, we're required to present the plans that we have in place to help us reach our end-of-year goals.
When will your next benchmarks be?
It will take place when we come back from Christmas break, I believe this 3rd week of January.
By the way, I just wanted to say thank you. Joe and I did go and visit the school. We were there the day before Thanksgiving vacation. And thank you for showing us around. And
no problem.
The kids were on a field trip. But
they were doing community service. Yes. Thank you for coming.
You mentioned an athletic director. Did you have a full-time athletic director? Was that here? Or?
Well, yes, but he also does our health and PE.
Health and PE?
Yes,
so he's still a full-time staff member?
I mean, I think that, you know, I've certainly seen some evidence of them trying to do the, you know, taking on the, I don't know, the recommended steps that someone would take, go look at other schools, I'm not, I definitely would think it would make sense to go reach out to Cheryl or about going to see Sugar Creek, movement. There's places right nearby. I think the challenge for us is the data is so low in the, you know, and you have that coupled with the really high discipline piece that, you know, it just tells this story that's, I think it's hard for us to, I imagine a lot of the board members are wondering, like, how long can we allow this to go on, kind of, right? Like, how long can we have a school that is performing that poorly, despite, you know, you and your co-founder wowed us when you came. You know, this is one of the schools I was most excited about. It was innovative, it was different. You know, it had some, you know, I think I remember some questions about free lunch and things like that in the application. I remember that was an issue, but we're really excited about it. And so I think we want to see you succeed.
Definitely.
But it's a mountain that you got to climb, I think. I mean, I don't know what other people are thinking.
Unfortunately, you're gonna need to climb it fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna have to make that 8 to 54 point jump.
Yeah, because it's gonna be really, really difficult for us to justify a renewal with the current background. I mean, it's gotta look like something drastic happened and suddenly you took off.
Or even just continued operation,
Yeah,
honestly.
I mean, renewals in another,
Yeah, because that's 2 more years out.
2 more
so.
years.
You're slated to renew 2022.
Yeah.
Which means we engage July of this year, probably, because it's a 2-year process. So that'll start our time
in 2020,
in 2020, July of
July
2020.
But it's still a ways off.
Yeah.
So that gives 2 years of academic data to be added to the data sheet that would presently be produced.
But they've gotta survive that too. And
That's right.
I'm just being real, like, it's gonna be
If it's
really,
8
really
next
hard to
year.
justify allowing it to continue over time. The sense of urgency is real. You gotta make a difference now.
I also think, you know, you and your board need to really also then ask the questions.
At this
You know,
time,
you
our
have to ask as a leader,
score
you know,
was 8.
is what we're doing working? Is the model the right model? Should we be, you know, it sounds like you've decided let's not be an alternative school, okay. But are we able to, you know, run the vision that we had originally established? And if we just can't do it successfully, if we can't get enough kids and make the books work, then you should say, you know what, you know, we actually don't think that this is the right model and we're not going to continue to do this. I mean, unfortunately, as a leader, those are the hard questions you have to ask. I know right now that you and your team are really committed to trying to put those pieces in place, and you know, they spent a whole day at my school. They observed and locked themselves in the planning room and were going over everything, and really, I didn't even see them leave to go to the bathroom or anything. So, I mean, I think the desire seems to be there, but you know, it's a mountain to climb that you got to climb fast. So,
Can you tell us right now why does your school need to stay open?
Well, we're making improvements as the years go by, but also with our scholars, they consider us family, and so as we're building those relationships, they're also understanding that their behaviors are having an impact on their academics. So I'll give you an example. A couple days ago, I had a conversation with our 8th graders, and I basically did the math for them. Let's say it takes you guys 15 minutes to come into the classroom silently the way that you should and to start learning. And I did the math and told them how many hours that adds up to at the end of the year. When I gave them that number, their eyes were like, whoa, what? I said, yes, that's 45 hours that we're losing for instruction. for an entire year. So when we're having the conversations with our cadet scholars, we're not sugarcoating anything. We're letting them know, like, guys, we have to work hard together as a team. Want to speak?
One of the reasons that we should continue, quite frankly, is because we do have cadet scholars that are committed to their own education. We are committed to their education as well. If I may go back to last year, in terms of the behavior problems, Ms. Newsom is absolutely correct. A lot of people thought we were an alternative school, and it was never our goal to be an alternative school. And a lot of our issues come because we accepted everybody. That's not to say we're not accepting those that can now, but what we didn't have last year was a firm culture that was focused on academics and focused on allowing the students, the scholars, to work and advance themselves. It wasn't solid. We've chosen to choose a culture that has been researched and proven to work. And so now all we gotta do is put the work in to get our scholars educated and to get them where they're proficient in their grades. We also recognize that we can push them a lot harder than we did last year. And we're doing that as well. We're motivating our instructors to do that. So we are pushing them a lot harder. We're giving them a lot more to do. Last year they didn't get homework. Now they get homework every day from every instructor. We are holding them to the heights that we know that they can meet and that they can reach. We just got to get them to believe it, and we're working on getting them to believe it as well. So, frankly, it's just, I recognize that it all seems insurmountable, especially looking at the numbers in terms of students and the finances and what have you. But we're all willing to put in the work as much as it takes. I mean, I don't know, I can't think of a night that, or a day, I should say, after school that any of us have left the building before 7. And maybe that's the par for the course. I don't know, I just know what needs to be done. So I know I'm there and the rest of the staff is there as well, or the admin is there as well, because we are committed to getting it done. It's bottom line. It has to be, There's a future, they're the future of the world, so, you know, if I for one want to contribute to that, so I'm committed to doing that this way. This is the method I'm using to do that.
We were excited about you guys when you started. We want to see you succeed.
Absolutely.
But we also have a responsibility.
Absolutely.
So you guys gotta bring it. You have to bring it.
Yeah, we got to see exceeded growth next year.
You will be coming back because it's 2 out of 3 years. So next year you'll be coming.
Yeah, you could be an A exceed growth and you're still coming back next
Next
year,
year.
so.
But
I
we'll
hope
be
it is
happy.
an A and
I
exceed
know.
growth.
Then
but
we'll
we
have a
can-
party.
If it's A exceeding growth, we will. We'll have a party when you come, but we,
Cake and beer?
Not in this boardroom.
Is that ask?
but, yeah. I think y'all, you know, we can't.
Fully aware.
We can't have another year. I really would like to know what your next benchmarks, gals. You're gonna have them in January? And you're gonna use another released exam? Is that what I'm expecting? So it'll be another released exam?
Yes.
Okay.
You say you want to know when?
Well, I wanna know the results.
Yeah.
I wanna see what,
Continue that chart.
yes,
To send
continue
it
that
to
chart.
Office of Charter Schools.
And get that to the Office of Charter Schools for us.
All right. I think that's all. We're good. We'll see you back here as soon as we feel like we need you to see you again, probably next fall.
One of the other things that we're looking at is also altering our mission statement. So we will be getting that up to you at some point in time.
Great.
But it kind of changes the quasi-military, because we figure that that's the piece that keeps attracting
Gotcha.
the alternate.
Well, and I can tell
Send
you,
them to military school.
your LEA is gonna definitely put that message out there.
Oh yeah, that's a military school. Send them over there.
That's where they need to go.
Right.
It's out there.
Yeah.
So we did it by, trying to revamp our mission statement, but we're having to do with our parents.
Yeah.
First to get included with it.
Yeah.
We want to present it to you guys.
Well, as new students come in and you meet with parents, with new students, that's when you need to clarify. Because if
Absolutely.
parents are coming in with the expectation that, well, this is an alternative school, you need to clarify for that for them up front so
You
they
need to
can
say
opt
that
out.
first. First, I want you to know this is not an alternative school. So if that's what you're looking for,
It's
we're
the wrong
not
place.
it.
And if a child comes in and they're performing so far, I mean, you're gonna have to put them in the grade where their scaffolding is, I mean, where they're performing. You're gonna need to do that.
And some parents will opt out just because of that.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
I got a motion, Mr. Chair.
Let's make it.
I move we adjourn.
All in favor?
Seconded.
Oh, what about
Second.
January?
All in favor?
One day. The
One
Monday,
day.
right?
One
Monday?
day, Monday or Tuesday?
Monday.
Monday.
Monday, okay.
It's the best way to start off the week.
Monday the 13th.
Monday 13th. We only have three interviews left.
I want my motion voted on.
What would
All in
you-
favor?
oh,
Aye.
aye.
Aye, aye, Captain.
3
If you wanna
o'clock.
stay, you stay as long as you want.
I gotta get.
You think it's not?
I think so.
Yeah, that's all we're doing, this, for them to shred.
The sound is working fine.
Just hold on.
I didn't even realize it this morning.
Just hold on.
I'm asking you to wait. I'm like, oh, my heart. She's like, oh, no.
Yeah,
It's a bad idea.
It's a bad idea.
Yeah, I
Especially the traffic is really bad.
don't.
Bruce, where do you travel back to?
What's in there? It's nearly impossible.
You have a very Merry Christmas.
Not well.
Do your girls still really get into Christmas?
He came to you and he left.
That's awesome. I love Christmas. He's been my baby. He's not my baby. He's my firstborn. He's a Christmas baby.
Born on?
On.
Because it's the end of the season.
The only Christmas that happens to me with my baby's life was the day I was in the hospital. Give it her. It's like,
My husband, like December 6th, which is really
Have a great holiday.
He loves his birthday.
yes, we gotta celebrate.